All right, guys, we are live with episode 44 of the Start, Build, Grow show. And we have a very special guest with us all the way out in Bali, in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, what time is it over there in Bali right now?
It's 9 a.m. here. It's a little
9
bit,
a.m., hey?
yeah,
How's the
it's
weather?
the typhoon season, so it's cloudy right now, but the weather's been pretty good since I've been here anyway.
Yeah. Okay, cool, man. That's what I like to hear, dude. Well, this is a topic that we really have not discussed very much yet, right? So we have not talked too much about health in the industry, right? But what we want to start kind of is tell us a little bit about Health Simple and how you kind of got into business, how you got into health and wellness and stuff like that, a little bit of your background.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I mean, health has always been something that I've been interested in. When I was younger, it wasn't necessarily on the right path. So I just wanted to get big. I wanted to get strong. I wanted to get bulky like any young kid in high school. So I thought I was healthy, but I was just kind of going to the gym and throwing around some weight and eat a whole bunch of carbs and a bunch of crappy food. But I ended up going to school and getting a diploma in health and fitness, and then a degree in kinesiology, and started to kind of improve my health a little bit, but I didn't take it too seriously. I ended up getting into a sales job that was with a startup company. So I was number one employee, and we took it from startup, all the way to an international kind of corporation, I guess you can call it. And through that time, I loved it. It was an amazing experience. I enjoy sales, but as the company grows, you work longer hours, you sleep less, there's a lot more stress, and you just don't have enough time to sort of take care of yourself. And for me, I started to notice not necessarily health issues, but just the way that I felt started to deteriorate. So my energy levels started to decrease. I had some brain fog. It hit 2 in the afternoon, and I'd be super tired, so I have to chug coffee all day. And I knew from previous learnings in school that this isn't the way that you're supposed to live, right? We're humans. We're supposed to feel great every single day. Yeah, of course, there's things that can happen that'll make you, that can cause some issues. But for the most part, if you're not waking up every single day and feeling good and feeling energized, then, you're not doing your body justice. So I started to really dial in and do some research and learn everything I could about not just health, but sort of optimizing the way that I feel. So optimizing my performance cognitively, my energy levels, all this kind of stuff. And I started doing it while I was working in sales, and I felt fantastic. It kind of changed everything for me. And I was performing at such a high level that I decided, you know what, I need to teach others to do this, because I'd seen so many others in sales or in business that kind of just, they lose their health and they start to have all these health issues build up. So I started kind of just as a side gig. I started just an Instagram account and started posting, lessons and things that I learned. It ended up spiraling into a podcast, a YouTube channel. I ended up leaving my company, and now I do one-on-one coaching with business professionals to kind of get their health back and optimize their performance, their productivity, and just kind of help them, with longevity. So it's just kind of been this fun process. I had no idea exactly where it was going to go, but I think that's what being an entrepreneur is just sort of getting out there and doing it, and then kind of seeing what happens, what works and what doesn't. So it's now gotten to the point where I'm living in Bali, Indonesia, and working online. So, I mean, pretty happy with the results thus far anyway.
Pretty much living the dream right now. That sounds amazing to me. So, you said that you were actually dealing with these struggles. So you were actually dealing with these problems with low energy and everything like that. And that's why you decided to create that solution, which then eventually turned into your career path now. Now, I think there is so many entrepreneurs that are waking up every single morning with a lack of energy, right? And their biggest goal is to increase productivity, increase efficiencies, right? Become more productive, because that will lead to more revenue, right? Less stress, all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing is they're not actually looking for a solution for that, right? It almost just becomes natural, right? Where it's just like, this is just my state. Every morning I wake up, I struggle. I take a lot of caffeine in and all this kind of stuff to keep me going, right? What kind of solutions can people actually take and then implement when they're in this struggle. Because I'll say this is I'm really into fitness and stuff like that, but I think I could do a better job on the nutrition side and stuff like that. And I think that's a big missing link for a lot of people. When it looks at the nutrition and stuff like that, what can people start doing right off the bat to start improving that for themselves?
Good question. And the first thing to understand is that when you make your health a priority, you know, I know people don't want to put time into sleeping more or cooking food or going to the gym because they want to spend all their time on their business. But when you make health a priority and you put self-care into action, this is what creates, you know, a clearer mind. This is what allows you to perform better and be more creative in the workplace and be more productive. So, you know, people think that they're losing time by doing it, but they're actually gaining so much time in the day, but also in longevity. I mean, if you've got, you know, you've worked your ass off every single day as a CEO or as a salesperson or whatever, and you haven't taken care of your health, well, you made all this money and all of a sudden you're 50 and you're sick and you're in a hospital. Well, what good is that, right? What are you going to do with that money now? You can't do anything with it. So if you focus on your health, it's going to help you perform right now. But it's also going to help you live a healthy life, you know, into old age, which I think is super important. As for what you can do, it really depends on the level of the person. I think a lot of business professionals try to go with the pill fix, you know, I want this one pill that's going to do it for me. And they try MCT oil in their coffee, or they, you know, they drink a ton of coffee, or they do a ketogenic diet. They don't really know what they're doing. You know, they just try all these random things. They take creatine or whatever. And yeah, those help, but only if you actually have a good foundation to begin with. So most of the clients that I work with, it's teaching the basics of health and the foundations of health. So one is your nutrition. Of course, we know that that's important. And yet our diet for the most part is pretty bad. And, you know, what you need to do is just eat human food, eat real food that was either grown in the ground, swam in the water, or roamed the land, right? Instead of eating these packaged foods that are full of chemicals that, you know, impact your gut and impact your brain and your hormones, etc. It's these foods, you know, eating all the sugar and these processed foods and fast foods that are giving you this brain fog and are, you know, making you have these energy crashes midday. So if you just eat clean, I mean, that's the biggest start to it. Of course, once you have a good foundation, then yeah, let's go ketogenic. Let's start putting lion's mane in our coffee, which is a nootropic. Let's put, you know, MCT oil and things that'll help to sort of enhance your cognitive function. But, you know, you got to start out with the basics. The other things are, you know, exercise. Exercise is a huge benefit cognitively, as well as for your health. So, I mean, this is something that everyone should be doing. And not even just, you know, going to the gym to lift weights or to, you know, to exercise, but just movement, right? Humans are meant to move. We're not meant to sit all day. And how many of us who, let's say, are in software development or marketing or even sales, we just sit in a chair and that's kind of our full day. So, you know, getting up, moving like a human should, and then other things like managing stress. So there's a lot of techniques you can do there, which we can dive into in this. And then sleep. People forget about how important sleep is. This is probably the most important area of health. This is usually where I start with most of my clients, because it's what allows your brain to sort of rejuvenate and recover and recycle its cells and its waste. So it's what's going to allow you to improve your memory and your performance and just function as a, you know, optimal human. So, you know, the problem is that most people sleep maybe 6 hours a day or a night if they're lucky, and we need at least 7 to 8 hours. So some sleep hygiene is a huge aspect as well.
So you recommend 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night?
I do. Yeah. If you're the research actually shows, so sleep is important to balance a lot of your hormones. Okay. So most of your growth hormone is made during sleep. A lot of your hunger hormones are balanced during sleep. So the more sleep you get, the less hungry you'll be, the less food you need to eat throughout the day, and the more energy, of course, you'll have. But as soon as you go below 6 hours of sleep, those hormones decrease significantly. And I mean, that's only an hour or two difference than what you should be getting. So it's a big priority for any client that I have.
So what kind of hormones are going out of whack when you're not getting enough sleep?
Yeah, good question. So growth hormone, as I mentioned, we make most of it, 90% of it while we're sleeping. When it comes to eating, you have a hormone called ghrelin and leptin. So ghrelin is your hormone that makes you feel hungry. Leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full. So you want those balanced. The problem is when you have sleep deprivation, your ghrelin increases significantly and your leptin decreases significantly. So now all of a sudden you're a lot more hungry than you were, and it takes a lot more food to fill you up. So this is kind of a recipe for disaster, not only just for weight gain, but just for performance cognitively as well. The other thing is insulin. So insulin plays a big role in your energy levels. And this is something that's spiked when you eat sugar or a carbohydrate. And you really want to maintain insulin levels to stay in good energy, good mood, etc. But if you spike it, all of a sudden it crashes and you get this energy crash. And when you don't have enough sleep, your insulin sensitivity is decreased. So all of a sudden now you're getting these greater insulin spikes from eating the same food. If you had, a good 8 hours of sleep, you'd have a lot less of an insulin spike. So those are just a few of them, but really, I mean, there's so many components to good sleep and so many things that are happening inside your brain that I don't think people realize. So making it a priority is huge.
Charles actually has a question. It's kind of an interesting question, and I think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs kind of deal with is, how do you sleep when you have so much stress on the mind? Do you touch on any topics like that with your clients?
I do. Yeah. Stress is a big component, especially as a business professional. I mean, we live these crazy stressful lives, and first, stress isn't necessarily the worst thing ever in small amounts. I mean, stress means that you're getting out of your comfort zone and you're growing as a human. So you're becoming a better person. So that's great. The problem is when stress happens every single day, all day. This is when, you start to have some damaging effects. One of the biggest things that I do, I mean, first, exercising and getting your nutrition intact and all that kind of stuff is going to help with managing stress. But one thing that I do is journaling before bed. And a lot of people may think, oh, that's wishy-washy, whatever. But the thing is that you're stressed because you have all this going on in your mind, and you probably have a lot you got to do the next day. So what I do is create a journal, and I put my to-do list down for everything that I want to do and accomplish the next day. I write it all down, and it kind of just gets it out of my head. So now when I'm laying in bed, I'm not thinking about that anymore. Right. I'm just sort of, I just kind of have this empty mind now because everything's on paper. And even things like if you're feeling stressed, start writing down why you feel stressed and ask yourself, I'm stressed because of this. Should I be stressed because of it? And, as you continue to ask yourself why, you'll just go, I'm stressed for no reason. This is what am I doing? Right. And you kind of just talk yourself out of it. So instead of letting stress just take over your day or your night, it's stopping it in its tracks, doing something that's going to kind of settle you down and then get that stuff out of your mind. Breathing techniques is also really, really important. Something I do a lot before bed if I'm stressed is just, slowing down, breathing in through the nose, taking a deep breath, and then breathing out, and just kind of, watching your breath and sort of feeling your breath. This really helps to relax your brain and your body. So it'll help you fall asleep.
100%. We actually had in the comments, someone said, work out at 5 a.m. It'll reduce stress. And by 9 to 10 p.m., you'll be very tired anyways. There you go.
Yeah,
I like it.
Agreed. Although weightlifting isn't necessarily, if you're going to go heavy in the morning, that's not necessarily the best thing.
No,
just because, your cortisol, which is another important hormone, that's your stress hormone, is at its highest level in the morning. So if you go and you do heavy lifting in the morning, you're just increasing that cortisol even more. So movement is great in the morning. I definitely agree, but usually it should be some sort of low intense, maybe yoga, go for a run, kind of lighter type workouts. You actually have the highest performance. Your muscles are stimulated at its peak amount in the afternoon or the early evening. So if you want to get the best out of your lifts, I recommend afternoon or evening if you can get time out of the office. But I mean, hey, regardless, if 5 a.m. is the only time you can do it because it's better than not, for sure.
Okay, so you suggest something like yoga, jogging, something a little bit lighter in the morning. Then if you're going to do that heavy lifting, that's better off at night, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So Josh Cotner actually asked, what about 40 minutes of cardio? Give me a little bit more in depth on what you mean by that, Josh, is, what the question is about the cardio. And then we'll make sure we dive into that. What about coffee and caffeine? When should we be intaking that? And how much?
Yeah, good question. A lot less than what most people are. I'll tell you that. But, coffee is great. Coffee is actually full of antioxidants and a lot of healthy compounds that help to keep you healthy, right? And also the caffeine is a stimulant for the brain, so it can help improve cognitive performance. For some people, they metabolize caffeine too quickly, and this can be an issue. So you may want to add something in it. Maybe grass-fed butter or coconut oil or whatever, a good healthy fat, or almond milk maybe, but it kind of depends on the individual. I recommend not having coffee the moment you wake up. I know this is something everyone does, but it's actually a little bit better to do it maybe an hour or 2 hours after you wake up. And the reason is that there's part of what caffeine does is, yes, it's a stimulant, but it also blocks the receptors of the compounds that make you tired. Yeah. And those compounds are at its lowest amount when you first wake up. So it's kind of not doing its full job. So I usually try to wait. I'm up at 6, so I wait until 8, 9 o'clock to have my coffee. And then the other thing is, don't have it in the afternoon. So afternoon, you don't want to have any caffeine. It takes about 8 hours at least to metabolize coffee. And, that causes a lot of issues with sleep. People having coffee at 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, even later. This is a big issue in producing melatonin to actually get to sleep and get in good quality sleep. So keep it before noon if you can, and have a lot less than what you probably are. Maybe 1 cup to 2 cups. Again, it depends on the individual. If you metabolize it well and you're okay with it, then sure, you can have a couple. But for some people, you might just want to do 1.
So don't intake caffeine as soon as you wake up. Wait a little bit, and then do not have it after noon. We actually had Josh Cotner again in the comments, says Bangs only has 300 milligrams, LOL, of caffeine. I don't know if you have you heard of Bangs? Are you familiar with that pre-workout that's in the can?
I have not. No. What is Bangs?
So yeah, it's pretty much pre-workout in a can, and it's definitely pretty intense. What's your thoughts on pre-workout?
Yeah, I stay completely away from it. A lot of pre-workouts are filled with sugar, filled with chemicals, and the problem with this is that it impacts your digestive system. So especially if you're trying to build muscle and get bigger, well, when you take pre-workout, if it's messing up your gut and the bacteria in your gut, well, now you're not going to digest and absorb the protein that you're trying to, that I'm assuming you're eating a ton of. So, you want to try to eat as clean as possible. So for me, there's a couple things for pre-workout. One, of course, is coffee. Get that caffeine. That's great. Or green tea is okay as well. The other thing is getting some nitric oxide. So you can do this. This is what's commonly in pre-workouts, but you can get it from beets. So you can put them in your smoothies, something that you drink before you go to the gym. It makes your drink super red, but whatever. You can actually have arugula is really high in it as well, and avocado. So those 3 foods, are really high in it. So I try to have those before I'm going to go to the gym. Unless you're looking for weight loss, then try fasted. That can work well too.
So beets, avocados, and what was the other one?
Arugula.
Arugula. Man, you're killing me, man. I drink a lot of coffee, and I've been taking pre-workout for about the last 10 years. So it looks like I'm going to have to switch that up. Okay, got it. All right. So Jessica asked, let's see here. She asked, just jumped on. I think I missed it. I've been stress eating. How can I control the stress eating?
Yeah, good question. And I mean, this is a very comprehensive or complex, issue. But a lot of it is one, getting good sleep. That's going to help manage your eating hormones, so your hunger hormones and the hormones that keep you full. The other thing is taking part in stress management techniques. So there's a few things you can do. One, you can build your tolerance to stress. And this is by doing stressful things and letting your body adapt. So like exercise, for example, is a stressor, but it's not a harmful stressor unless you do it every single day for hours, but it kind of builds your tolerance. Another thing is like saunas. I love the sauna. It's something I do almost every morning, not here because you don't really need it in Bali. It's hot enough as it is, but sauna is great for increasing your tolerance to stress, or if you're stressed, going in the sauna helps to reduce it. Ice or cold baths or ice baths or cold showers are great. Again, it just sort of like what it does is it stimulates this sort of stress response and then allows your body to learn how to cope with it. So when you do these kind of things, your body gets better at managing it. The other thing then is trying to stop stress in its tracks. So if you're stressed, maybe it's at work, you've had a crappy phone call, or someone just came and yelled at you. Just sit back, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and just sort of listen to your breath and calm yourself down, like I talked about before going to bed. honestly, this makes a massive difference. And it's so easy. It's so simple, and it's completely free to do. So, you know, just noticing and being mindful of like, okay, I feel a little bit overwhelmed. I'm a little bit stressed. So, you know, just sit back and take a few breaths. And yeah, you can call it meditation. You know, anything can be meditation, but just find what your happy thing is. Maybe it's listening to music, right? Maybe it's going for a walk outside. You know, just separate yourself for a second and allow your body to sort of, or your brain to process through it. And that'll help you sort of deal with it. The other thing is preparation. So if, you know, you have a long day at work and it's probably going to be stressful, meal prep, you know, get your foods prepared and bring them to work with you, so that when all of a sudden you're hungry, you're not going, oh, I got to go to the cafeteria and get McDonald's, right? You've made a nice salad or a smoothie bowl or something, and that's what you go to instead. The other thing is adaptogens. So there's a lot of different adaptogens. These are like plant roots that help to sort of limit the stress that you have, or lessen it. Ashwagandha is probably my favorite. You can get it in like a powder form and throw it in smoothies. It's done really well for me. So I would recommend that.
Okay, got it. So, you know, one thing that I noticed, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that also deal with this, is I usually hit like a lunch crash, right? So post lunch, I eat something like a burrito or something like that, right? And all of a sudden I'm down for the count for the rest of the day. And then what do? I try to fight that with caffeine, right? What are some good like lunch suggestions that you feel are a great way to stay sharp throughout the entire day?
Yeah, great question. I would recommend high fat, low carb meals in the morning, and only bring in the carbs after your gym session or around your gym session. Fat, especially if you're doing like a ketogenic diet or you're intermittent fasting, when you get into burning fat or ketosis phase, it's a much cleaner energy. So you actually, you know, you have the cognitive benefits. You're not going to have a crash from it. A burrito is wrapped in, you know, a wrap, which is carbs, and it's processed carbs. So it acts just like sugar. Anything that's been refined or processed acts similar to sugar in the body. So that's why you kind of want to get rid of that. I'm not saying that carbs are necessarily the enemy. It's just they're not really that necessary unless you're looking for performance in physical activity. So my breakfast typically is, and usually I intermittent fast, so I don't have my breakfast till a little bit later in the day. That can also help. But, you know, an omelet. So get your eggs in with some vegetables. That's great because it's high in protein and fat. So it makes you feel full and satiated, and it doesn't spike your insulin levels. The other thing is, and this has become popular lately, is smoothie bowls. They're huge in Bali. This is all anybody eats here. But, you know, you throw in some protein, some coconut milk, avocado, and then some, you know, some low fruit like berries, and then some veggies, so like kale, arugula, etc. And that gives you a nice, you know, satiating meal that isn't going to spike insulin again. And a lot of people try to restrict. They go, okay, I just shouldn't eat at all, and that's not necessarily the best idea, because if you're not getting the nutrients that your body needs, then it's going to be hungry. If you're not, you know, if you're dehydrated, you're just going to feel hunger. You don't know, your body doesn't differentiate what you need. It just tells you that I need something. So you just feel hunger. If you're not getting enough protein or enough vitamins or minerals, you're going to feel hungry. And, you know, typically we just eat a bunch of calories to fill that up, but actually it doesn't want the calories. Your body wants the nutrition. So eat some real nutrient dense foods, and your body will maintain those hormone levels. It'll maintain its energy throughout the day, and won't have these sort of ups and downs like you'd have when you're eating, you know, let's say yogurt and granola for breakfast.
Right. So is it the high fat foods then mostly that are going to help you feel full?
Yeah, exactly. High fat and high protein. So that's typically where you want to start, is high fat, high protein, and high veg. So you always want veg. So the other thing I did mention would be a salad, but, you know, not a salad of just greens, but a salad with some meat in it, or, you know, tempeh if you're vegan, and then some avocado in it, so you get some good fats. Like, you want to fill yourself up, right? You don't want to starve yourself and eat just a bunch of grass.
What do you think of the ketogenic diet?
I love it. I think for cognitive benefits, it's great. I've done it. And I'm not necessarily ketogenic now. It's pretty tough here in Bali because it's just fruit everywhere. But I think, you know, it's a great thing to at least learn. So getting fat adapted. So basically it means teaching your body to more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the term called metabolic flexibility, where your body now becomes good at burning fat and at burning carbohydrates. Most of us live in this state where we're sugar burners. So we burn carbohydrates all the time. We don't really know how to burn fat. So going into ketosis and doing ketogenic diet, even if it's just for like a month, first of all, you'll feel fantastic for most people, not everyone, but for most. So you can stick with it, or at least you've now taught your body to become fat adapted, and then you can kind of bring the carbs back in, and you'll still feel those great effects.
Okay, got it. So I actually tried some of this stuff too, and I think what for me in my mind, and I'm sure there's people out there that feel the same way, is the food that is bad for you, which is usually the high carb food, right, seems to fill you up a lot more, right? And I know you're saying it's actually your body wants, was it like how did you phrase it again?
It wants nutrients. So it wants its vitamins, minerals,
right.
It's essential nutrients, right?
So am I eating food that's just not high protein and high fat? Because I'm eating like, I'll eat salad with like some avocado stuff on it and nuts and whatnot. Am I just still not, because I still don't feel full. What do you think the problem is there?
If it's just avocado and nuts, then yeah, you need a protein source. So I recommend a high quality meat, whether it's, chicken or red meat or fish is really good. Adding in some sort of protein is going to help for sure. Okay.
And so you actually reached out, how we got connected was through Randy, right? So Randy was snowboarding out in Breckenridge this past weekend, cool. And he broke his wrist.
Okay.
he was backcountry snowboarding with guys and all that kind of stuff, and there's a rock pile, and boom, all of a sudden his wrist is done. So he actually had surgery yesterday, so that was the reason why he's not on today joining us. But he's still hopping on, and he's throwing in the comments, and he's asking a question. He asked, what about short naps during the day? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, naps can be great, but you also have to think, why is it that you're tired during the day? Is it because you only got 5 hours of sleep last night, so you actually need a nap? If that's the case, then it's probably, obviously you should do the nap, but it means that there's an underlying issue that you need to take care of, and that's, getting enough sleep. So it's kind of listening to your body, understanding, well, why am I tired? And sometimes you can get good sleep, but you've had a busy morning, you've been rushing around, maybe you went to the gym, and you're tired, and that's fine. Have a quick nap, and that's great. That's going to help you kind of rejuvenate and get a little bit of an energy boost. I love it. But if it's every day, and even when you're not necessarily, doing a whole lot in the morning, then you might want to think, okay, well, what's going on here? What do I need to fix? Am I chugging too much coffee, or am I not getting enough sleep, or what is it that I'm doing wrong?
Okay. Got it. And I kind of want to dive into what you actually do with your company, with Health Simple. I know you're helping business owners and businesses all over the world now. It's all digital, right? So the opportunity to connect with anybody is really limitless. Now, do you kind of, for me, in my standpoint, it's difficult to really understand where I even start. Like, is it my sleep? Is it, what I'm eating? Is it my poor workout? Where do you start?
It's a great question. And for what I do is you really got to learn, you really got to dive into the individual and learn what their lifestyle habits are. So my first initial consultation is an hour long. Before that, they fill out a form that's 8 or 9 pages. And it basically, dives into everything. When do you eat? What do you eat? Where do you grocery shop? Who does the cooking? Do you exercise? Why don't you exercise? Are you stressed? And, it's just kind of everything I can learn about you, so that I can then determine, what path we need to go. And I think for a lot of people, when they want to change their health, they kind of dive into everything all at once. They go, okay, nutrition plan, exercise plan. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to intermittent fast. And it's like, it's not sustainable. You're not really going to learn anything from that. You're just going to hate yourself and force yourself to follow this crazy diet. And then by the end of that, let's say it's a 30-day challenge or 60-day challenge, you didn't really create any habits from it. You didn't really learn anything. And now you go back to your normal life. So what I tend to do is break it down on weekly goals. And we go, okay, what do we need to work on first? If you're only getting 4 hours of sleep, I don't really care what you're eating. We got to fix that first, because we know that sleep is gonna impact what you're eating. And now everything, so exercise, stress, sleep, they all are interconnected and do impact each other. But it's just kind of finding, where do you need the work the most? And if you happen to get good sleep, maybe we start nutrition. You just got to kind of, you got to look at yourself and go, okay, where am I where am I, where's my downfalls when it comes to health, and then start to slowly progress and create new habits.
Mm-hmm. Josh said intermediate fasting for the win. So he looks like he's a fan.
Intermittent fasting, yeah. Intermittent fasting is great. This is something everyone should be doing. We've been doing it since the beginning of time, not necessarily on purpose, but I mean, when we were hunters and gatherers, we went days without eating. And actually, it's interesting because your brain and your body becomes more efficient and performs better when you're in a fasted state. Because if it didn't, we wouldn't be a species. Because if all of a sudden you didn't eat for 12 hours or 24 hours and your body gets worse and worse, well, there's no way you're going to catch that animal or, hike to find those plants like we used to have to do. Mm-hmm. Right. So your body actually gets more focused. Your attention gets better. Everything just kind of optimizes. It's really cool. So a lot of people practice it's kind of long-term fasting or intermittent fasting. Either one is great. Mm-hmm. But now we live in this world where food is so abundant, right? It's on every corner. I can pull up my phone and order Uber Eats. I don't know if I can do that here, but most people can, right?
Right.
And so you can eat anywhere on any corner at any time. And most of us do. We wake up and we eat right away. And then before bed, we eat and we snack and we're eating all day. And this is one of the bigger issues with our health in worldwide. So taking time away from eating is actually a really good thing.
How long? Like, is there a certain time at night that I should stop eating, and then a certain time in the morning or in the afternoon that I can start eating?
It depends on your goals and depends where you're currently at. 16-8 is pretty common. So 16 hours of not eating, 8 hours of eating is quite common.
Really?
I don't recommend starting there. I'd recommend starting 12 hours of eating, 12 hours of not eating.
Okay.
So, taking a little bit of time when you wake up to not eat, and then taking some time before bed, usually 2 to 3 hours without eating. I'd start there, learn it, because it's not an easy thing. If you just jump into 16-8 or not eating for 24 hours, you're going to hate yourself. So you want to practice, you want to, allow your body to adapt and learn that.
Yeah.
And then I usually start 12-12 and sort of work my way down to 16-8. Now, for females, for the women in here, there's some research saying that 16-8 is a bit too much for you, and you want to maybe go 10 hours of eating just because of some hormonal issues. I don't know how accurate it is, but I mean, because research really, you never know how great the research is. But that's kind of what has been said in the industry at the moment. So I probably wouldn't do 8 hours as a female, but as a male, go for it.
So a good example would be like for a male, 10 to 6 for eating. Pretty solid right there, hey?
Yep. If you're looking for weight loss, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do that. There's a lot of health benefits to it as well. But if you want weight loss, this is probably one of the best things that you can do to stay lean. But you'll feel a good difference in your cognitive abilities and your performance if you start to do 16-8 for sure. So it just depends on your goals.
So Randy says, so it's not a bad thing when I forget to eat breakfast.
I like it when you purposefully don't eat breakfast. If you forget to eat breakfast, that means you're not kind of mindful about what you're doing and what you're consuming. I like to really plan out my day of when I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, that kind of thing. If you're forgetting to eat because you're stressed and you're just, your mind is just racing, then, may not be the best thing, but hey, it happens. You're never going to be perfect.
So what's your thoughts on this one? And I think this could be actually pretty solid for you with you working in Bali. So obviously you're doing a lot of things remotely right now. You're traveling and stuff like that. Jake Weber asks, do you guys need a dedicated space for work and work alone? I know I do.
So right now, actually, I'm in a co-working space. So if I was to turn my laptop around, you'd see a bunch of others working. I'm in a meeting room with some AC, and it's a little bit quieter here, which is nice. But I kind of enjoy the co-work thing. It's the first time I've ever really experienced it, but it's cool because you meet so many people that are doing so many different things online, so you can kind of network and learn. But I definitely do like sometimes where I'm just kind of by myself and can focus and dial in, or I'll just wear headphones and that keeps you isolated as well. But I like to change it up. Sometimes I'll work in a cafe. I like to just change my scenery. If I'm always sitting in the same spot, I kind of plateau. So that's why I travel.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So Charles has a situation here. He says, I get tired around 3 to 4 p.m., but at 8 to 9 p.m., I'm wide awake. Do I blame that on stress or what I eat? I'm a smaller, high energy guy, but mornings ain't me. Talk to me here.
So it could be a few things. Are you having caffeine at 3 to 4 when all of a sudden you're starting to feel tired? Because if you are, that's probably why you can't sleep at night. Stress could definitely be a component. It may be your sleep. How much are you actually sleeping? If you're only getting 4, 5, 6 hours, well, eventually the next day you're going to get tired. And again, it may be nutrition. So the thing is you never really know. You have to experiment. You have to sort of learn, and learn yourself and figure out what you're doing. If you're eating a lot of sugary type foods and processed foods where your insulin is spiking and crashing, that could be why. So, there's many reasons. It's a holistic approach. There's no kind of, one size fits all approach to it or one pill that's going to help you, unfortunately.
Sounds like he's sleeping about 3 to 6 hours. So I think that could be the big issue right there.
Definitely.
You just read in the comments. Yeah. So I got another comment here that I kind of wanted to talk about. Kind of brings me into another good question that I wanted to ask you. He says, that's so true. I lost like 20 pounds doing keto for like 4 weeks. After that, I went nuts and gained it all back. What's your thoughts on, what's really popular is like you hear of like the Whole30 or other diet challenges and stuff like that, where it's like, hey, you go all in for 30 days. What's your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
I hate it. I hate it just because, okay, I don't hate it. It's still eating good food. But like I said earlier, it doesn't teach you anything. And what you need is to learn good, healthy habits so that you can sustain them for the rest of your life. One of my clients that I have right now, she just did Whole30 and then hired me afterwards because as soon as she went off it, she just started eating what she used to eat, which was eating out and fast food and that. So the way that I structure it is sort of a process or a system where we don't give you everything all at once. We go, okay, let's just start cooking one meal a day. If you're at that point where you don't cook anything, maybe it's just adding in some vegetables. Maybe it's, getting some good healthy fats into your diet, depending on what you do. And you kind of work on that for a week so that you can sort of ingrain that and make that, a habit for you. And then you slowly build. And this is what creates long-term change. I don't often see people that go this 30-day challenge or whatever, and it lasts. So kind of like the gentleman there that had the ketogenic diet for 4 weeks, lost all this weight, gained it all back. It's about creating lifelong habits, just like in anything, right? If you're in sales, if you're in business, you're creating sales habits. You're creating these habits that get you to work and get you to be creative or productive. So you want to do the same with your health.
So I think one of the biggest challenges is the environment, right? Because let's say you're in outside sales. I know there's a lot of salespeople here and stuff like that. There's a lot of working opportunities, which can lead to business opportunities, right? There's a lot of crappy food there, right? Which brings me to my next question is actually alcohol, right? There's a lot of beer and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on alcohol and how can you still use it in moderation and still win? What's your thoughts there?
I always ask this question. So it's difficult. I mean, it depends on how much you're drinking. If you're having a glass or two a night of, let's say, wine, or maybe it's a gin and soda or something, I think that's manageable. It's not the worst thing ever. It's a little bit of alcohol. Yeah, it's not great. It may impact your sleep a bit because alcohol does. But you may be able to manage it. If you're having 5 drinks, 10 drinks, it doesn't matter if you're drinking wine or you're drinking gin or organic, alcohol or beer, it's going to be bad for you. It's going to cause issues cognitively. It's going to cause issues with your sleep. So it doesn't really matter. But if you can manage to control it and have 1 or 2, the big thing is don't have the drinks that are filled with sugar. So like I don't know what you guys would drink, but I would do a rye and Coke, let's say, or a rye and ginger. Maybe it's a vodka cranberry or something. Like, we know the problems with it. And a lot of your hangover is actually due to that amount of sugar that you're drinking that night. The other part of your hangover, obviously alcohol is some of it, but is sleep. If you end up going out and you stay out till 2, 3 o'clock and you change your sleep cycle, well, all of a sudden that's going to impact your circadian rhythm for the next couple of days. So it's going to mess up your hormones and your sleep, etc. So, it's trying to drink wisely, have water with it, or lemon, or we do coconut water here in Bali on the island because it's super cheap. And then, trying to just make sure that you're not eating, all the crappy foods that come along with alcohol, like, I don't know, French fries and pizza and all that kind of stuff.
All the apps, right?
Yeah. It's just making it a priority and making good choices. But if you're going to go out for a night and drink, there's nothing you can do. Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it. Yeah. See, there's an answer that people can like right there.
Yeah.
So I put in your YouTube channel, right, which was really cool. So if you guys are looking for like some awesome recipes and stuff like that, I mean, they go through the whole thing, right? 20 minutes plus of, hey, this is what you need. This is how you do it. So it's like, if you're not that good at cooking, or if you're really looking for some solid recipes where it's like healthy food, but still tasty, right? Check that out. That's awesome. I also put in your podcast there too. So they can just pick, right? So they can pick Spotify, iTunes, whatever it might be. So that's all right there. But what's the best way for them to get in touch with you directly if they're interested in learning more about your guys' services and what you guys can do for them, whether it's, just the business owner or their entire staff?
So a couple areas. First would be Instagram is probably where I spend most of my time. I do a lot of teaching on there with my posts. So if you just want to learn and get some free knowledge, I'd highly recommend just following me on Instagram, checking me out there. If you want to DM me questions, I'm always sitting on there answering. So happy to have a chat. If you really want to create some change and you're kind of sick of the way that you feel and maybe your weight, and you just want to feel better and kind of optimize, I would say coaching is probably the best bet. Feel free to just check out the podcast. I try to teach everything that I do anyway there. But for a lot of people, they need the accountability, they need the system and kind of, those weekly calls. So you can check me out on my website, healthsimpleinfo.com. And then if you click the health coach tab there, you'll be able to see kind of more about the one-on-one coaching.
Cool. So I'm gonna take your Instagram handle. It's just healthsimple_, right, on Instagram?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna put that in the comments. If you wouldn't mind, just put your link too in the comments as well for people for the consulting and stuff like that and the coaching and whatnot. And then I'm definitely going to start watching or listening to your podcast, man, especially after having an opportunity to just, talk with you one-on-one, man. Super impressed with your knowledge and everything like that. You had awesome answers, man. I do really appreciate you jumping on too. I know you're not feeling the best too. It's early morning in Bali. You woke up not feeling good with a fever and whatnot. And so you were still champ and joined us today, man. So I don't want to stretch it too long. I want you to, get a little sleep and feel a little bit better, but dude, I really appreciate it, man, Kyle. It's been awesome. Like he was saying, make sure you check him out at Health Simple on Instagram. He's super active on Instagram. He has a lot of great content on there. But man, you're all over the place with amazing content. So we got it all up there. But yeah, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Is there anything you want to kind of leave business owners with as kind of a key takeaway as they're trying to solve their problems in health and wellness?
First thing is just want to say thanks for everyone for joining in and asking all the questions. It's a lot of fun that way. I love doing that. So 100%. Thanks all you guys for joining. I think the biggest thing is kind of what I said in the very beginning, is just understanding that all you got to do is focus on your health, and even just the basics. You don't have to go and get all these supplements and do all these different, crazy things. Just focus on the fundamentals of health and you will feel so much better than what you currently do. So that's nutrition, exercise, stress management, and sleep. If you can dial in those, I'll tell you right now, you'll feel amazing. And then you've kind of earned the right to start, okay, let's optimize. Let's start adding in things. So make it a priority and understand what you're doing for yourself, because it's going to help you in every aspect of your life, not just your health, but your business, your relationships, everything that you're doing. So make it important.
Awesome, man. Kyle, thank you so much. This was episode 44 of the Start, Build, Grow show, guys. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Kyle, thanks again. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And take